Joined now by Rachel Reeves, Labour MP, Shadow Minister for the Cabinet Office, shadowing Michael Gove. And this as Labour is trying to force a binding vote in Parliament today to establish what they call a full and transparent parliamentary inquiry into the Greensill lobbying scandal, which is the tentacles of which are reaching further and wider as the days go by. Good morning to you, Rachel.
Good morning, Julia.
Now, we've already got an independent inquiry announced by the Prime Minister. Why do you think that what he's announced so far doesn't go far enough?
What's been announced so far is tantamount to the government trying to mark its own homework. They've set a very narrow remit for the inquiry that they've established, but also they've handpicked the guy who they want to run the inquiry, and it will be held in private, not in public. And I don't think that this has any chance of getting to the bottom of the sleaze, which is engulfing government right now. This is wider than just David Cameron, wider than just Greensill. This is around lobbying. It's around favouritism. It's about if you've got the telephone number of the Chancellor, getting more access than otherwise.
Well, I mean, this is it. I mean, David Cameron has already been cleared from breaking the rules, we're told. There's no wrongdoing, no criminal wrongdoing and the like. But the argument has been that it's the rules that are at fault. They're allowing things to happen which people think shouldn't happen. And the story today regarding one of David Cameron's senior officials being allowed to work in Downing Street as the government's procurement head at the same time as he was also being paid by Greensill Capital on their board. So being paid large salaries by both sides when there is a clear and blatant, huge conflict of interest.
Yeah, absolutely.
But is that allowed under the rules?
Well, I mean, that was signed off by the government. It's mind-blowing. It's mind-blowing that it's fine, apparently, for David Cameron to be texting the Chancellor asking for special deals for a company in which he seeks to, he could potentially get millions and millions of pounds worth of share options in. And it's mind-blowing that officials can be paid by the taxpayer to do really important work, getting value for money for taxpayers in contracts, and at the same time work for a company, advise a company that's getting some of those contracts. That is a clear conflict of interest. So if no rules have been broken, you've got to ask, these rules are just not fit for purpose, are they? And the rules need to be tightened up. And that's one of the things that Labour is recommending, that you have a register of lobbyists, which exists today, but it is broadened in scope. So it includes all lobbying that's done directly by businesses, not just by the big lobbying companies, which is what happens at the moment. And that is how David Cameron can say, because of this loophole, nothing to see here, I'm not guilty. Well, we've got to change the rules. We've got to toughen this up, because British democracy is so valuable and so important to all of us in this country that it cannot be put on sale like this, and we've got to clean up this sleaze.
Well, we've already had these accusations of Tory cronyism related to Matt Hancock, the Health Secretary, and this idea that anybody who happened to know a government minister or a Tory MP got fast-tracked for getting a huge, sometimes multi-million-pound deals to provide PPE during the height of the first wave of the pandemic. And the idea that this was going on since then, has been going on before then. Is there an element, though, where a lot of people listening right now will say, yeah, this has happened in this government, but probably happened in the Cameron government, probably happened in the Blair brand, that this is just something that you nasty, terrible, dishonest politicians all do. We had the expenses scandal. A lot of people think, all politicians are on the take. Is there a worry that this actually can damage politicians across the board?
Which is why it can't be swept under the carpet. We've got to get a grip of this to stop anything like this ever happening again. And that means tightening up the rules. It does mean, as David Cameron once said, the sunlight is the best form of disinfectant, and we've got to shine some sunlight on this. So there aren't these dark corners where these dodgy deals can be done. And sleaze in politics has always got to be rooted up right from the roots to stop it taking hold and damaging our democracy. But also, when Greensill collapsed, tens of thousands of jobs are on the line, including thousands in this country in our British steel industry, from Hartlepool to Rotherham. And so this is affecting real people's lives as well.
Yeah, but
And so it is essential that we get answers on all of
that's the
this.
crucial aspect here, isn't it? Because it's not only British taxpayers' money that may be given to, someone, they're getting a deal just because they happen to know the right person and took them for dinner in the right gentleman's club or went to university with them or whatever it was, or on their board. But also the fact that we are looking at companies here that as we saw with, you say, Liberty Steel, possibly going under, and real jobs and real people's lives and livelihoods being affected. How long would you expect if you can get this inquiry? And first of all, whether or not you think you can actually force this parliamentary run inquiry through Parliament, given the huge Tory majority. But if you were able to get it, how long would you want that to run?
We would. The motion that we're putting forward today sets up a temporary select committee, which would last until the end of this year at the latest. So the select committee would be disbanded at the end of this calendar year. But it doesn't have to take that long. But Julia, we've just heard in the last few minutes that Boris Johnson is telling his MPs to vote against this motion today. That is a real missed opportunity if that is how Conservative MPs vote today, because we shouldn't be trying to brush this under the carpet. We should be trying to shine a spotlight on what's going on, because it is so crucial for our democracy, but also for British jobs and industry, that nothing like this is ever allowed to happen again today. And so I would urge all MPs today to vote with your conscience, do the right thing, and vote for this motion to set up a cross-party select committee to look into this scandal of sleaze.
Before I let you go, I must ask you about, in terms of voting with conscience, has Labour definitely decided how it's going to vote on the issue of vaccine passports? You, of course, shadow Michael Gove, the man who's pushing vaccine passports in government. Have you decided how you're going to vote?
We've been very clear that we're against vaccine passports. We don't think they are the right approach. I worry about how they would be administered. I worry about privacy issues, about the huge bureaucracy for British businesses that would have to administer them. And I would urge the government to focus on the basics, to get test and trace right, to get self-isolation payments and support to those people who need them, and to expand that rapid testing system, but not vaccine passports.
Do you agree with the Prime Minister when he said yesterday it was lockdown, not the vaccination programme, that caused the fall in the deaths and hospitalisations and cases?
Well, if he's right about that, and he sees the evidence more than I do, but if he's right about that, then it does beg the question, why then do you want to have vaccine passports? If it is testing people to make sure they haven't got the virus that stops it being passed on, then surely that's what we should be doing, rather than vaccine passports, which I think will give people a full sense of their protection.